Stay tuned for a meeting of the City of Calabasas Commission. The meeting will be broadcast using Zoom and the city's CTV Channel 3. Commission members may teleconference into the meeting without noticing or posting an agenda at their teleconference location. Besides the live TV and Zoom broadcast, the live stream of the meeting may be viewed online at cityofcalabasas.com/CTV Live. If you want to provide public comment, press raise hand if you're using Zoom or *9 if you're joining by phone. Just unmute yourself by pressing *6. Say your name and the city you live in. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to address the commission regarding any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. If the power or internet goes out lasting more than 15 minutes, or if there's some event that prevents the commission from meeting or prevents you from providing public comment, then the meeting will be adjourned. Any items noticed as public hearings will be rescheduled to the next regular commission meeting. Any other agenda items the commission has not taken action on will be placed on a future agenda. Now, a meeting of the City of Calabasas Commission.
Good evening, everyone. This is the beginning of the Communications and Technology Commission meeting of November 15th. I'm Michael Brockman, Chair of the Commission, and we now would like to get a call to order in recognition of the roll call of who is present. So, Adira, do you want to just do the roll call? Get an acknowledgement so the audience gets to know who's who?
Yep, you're on mute, Adira.
Mute.
Apologies.
Okay.
So David Goldwater,
Present.
Candace Weber,
Present.
Richard Sherman,
Present.
Carrie Melcher,
Present.
Michael Brockman.
Present.
Okay, all present.
Okay, all accounted for. Very good. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Candace, would you be?
Sure. Everybody stand, please. Place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
to
the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for
which it stands,
one
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
Indivisible.
liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Roll. Okay. Excellent. Okay, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. In the minutes of October 18th. Give you a moment or so to double check your notes or any questions you may have before we ask for the vote.
Oh, there was Chair Brockman, there was a minor under page 2, monthly reports, cable complaints review. I think it meant Chair Brockman, not Sherman. Minor, that correction.
Yeah, it's a little carryover from the phone. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome. Other than that, I would move to accept the minutes from October 18th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on we go. Oral communications, public comment is the next item up. No, I jumped it. Announcements and introductions is next. Is there anyone of the commissioners who have anything to add at this point that they would like to discuss or mention? Okay, it mentions introductions, so I'll just let the audience know that we are going to have 2 additional guests during the course of this evening's presentations. The first one is Jonathan Kramer, who is an old friend of ours. Welcome. And the other gentleman's name is, I know your last name, I forgot the first one.
George.
Right on the screen.
Muted.
Jory Wolf.
Jory Wolf. Okay, what happens for me is I like to make sure that the audience is up to speed on things, and we amongst ourselves, we can do it one way and Anyway,
Well, luckily for us, the names are right on the screen.
yes, I see that. There you go, messing me up again. All right. Okay, the next item is oral communications and public comment. Yadira, is there any information that anybody wishes to speak?
I don't see anyone that raised their hands, but we did receive an email during the week, which I provided to all commissioners.
That's fine. Okay. It's not a subject that we can raise tonight because
Okay.
it's not on the agenda. So the proper distribution of the information will be helpful. Thank
Okay. Thank you.
you. New business. This is an item that is been brought to us by way of the city council and asking us to review it, but I will pass this off to Mr. Russo to do a more proper introduction.
From one Michael to another. Thank you very much, Chairman Brockman and commissioners. As you mentioned, this was first brought up to the city council on October 12th. The cities in the Las Virgenes Malibu COG, or Council of Governments, had been looking at creating a broadband backbone, if you will, for a regional smart cities fiber network. Now, the idea is to get more bandwidth for less money, with the cities sharing the system, and would be more cost effective. The network on the surface would be namely for public sector communications, emergency services, transportation, public works, etc. As it stands now, it's not really something that would just instantly improve mobile phone service for residents. So I just want to put that out there. The cost would be $16 million if all 5 COG cities are included. And the COG cities are Calabasas, Agora Hills, Hidden Hills, Westlake Village, and Malibu. Now the cost drops to about $12 million without Malibu, and Malibu has hinted it wants to wait and complete some other projects first. It is estimated that this would take 2 years to complete. It would be paid for using Measure M transportation funds. Now, the city council here in Calabasas unanimously approved the idea, but they wanted to get some input from CTC and hear from our wonderful consultant, Dr. Jonathan Kramer and Jory Wolf. And that's why we're here tonight, to get CTC's thoughts and to get Mr. Kramer and Mr. Wolf's thoughts. So if there's no further questions, I will turn it over to Dr. Kramer.
Oh, I'm primarily here tonight to advise the commission on the technical aspects. Jory is the person who is most knowledgeable about the project and the proposal, but essentially I simply introduce it by saying that the gentleman you're about to hear from has been in local government for 4 decades. I've known him for 25 plus years over those times, the time that he and I worked together in Santa Monica and afterwards. And there's an important element to what you're about to hear, which is that this is a big picture, long-term project that, if reached in fruition, will significantly impact the community in terms of potentials for offering competition and alternatives simply to what is out there now. I don't want to get too far into what Jory is going to present, so I'm going to ask him to come in and start describing the concepts and the ideas that the city council has already heard, and then I'll be available for technical questions as you wish.
Thank you, Jonathan, and good evening, commissioners. Jory Wolf with Magellan Advisors. I was approached by Terry Dipple, who's the director of the Las Virgenes Malibu Council of Governments. And like many other councils of governments that we work with, they are looking at deploying broadband middle mile backbone networks to connect anchor institutions, business corridors for economic development, as well as city facilities, for improving services to the community and reducing costs for telecommunications leased circuits. In addition to that, many of these councils of governments and communities throughout the state of California and other states throughout the region and the US are looking at broadband now and getting grants from the US Treasury, from CARES 1, CARES 2, as well as from the IIJA and BEAD programs that have dedicated close to $96 billion of funding for broadband throughout our country. And why is this happening? It's because the private sector will only invest in broadband, fiber optic networks, or wireless networks when there is a profit to be had within a 3-year period of their investment. So we learned quite a lesson from the pandemic, and government now is putting out these grant funds, and governments across the country are using grant funds to build fiber networks where the private sector cannot make a profit. And government is now leading this effort in the state of California and other states. These networks have been deployed in many councils of governments. One in particular, when I left the city of Santa Monica in 2016, was the first one that I helped build with the South Bay Council of Governments, working with Jackie Backrack there and her team. And we put together a network, which is now called the South Bay Fiber Network, that provides a middle mile backbone throughout the entire South Bay, connecting all city facilities, including transportation elements, anchor institutions, and other nonprofit organizations within the region. Like that, which was funded by Measure M dollars, starting in 2017, the Las Virgenes Malibu Council of Governments is looking to use Measure M money, its transportation funding, to build a broadband network. Why? Because fiber fuels transportation improvements and innovations. Broadband not only provides services for government, access to the internet for government, anchor institutions, businesses, and residents, but also for transportation improvements. So there's a nexus between fiber optics and services for the community, but also services for transportation. And just like the South Bay, the Las Virgenes Malibu COG is looking to use their Measure M money to build the network that you see here that I'm showing on my screen. I'd like to define a little bit of what these colors mean. This is a conceptual design of what the network will look like. As you can see, there is a light blue line on Highway 101, and that represents the state's investment in an open access middle mile network going through your city and the cities of Westlake Village, Agoura Hills, Calabasas, and Hidden Hills. That is part of a $3.25 billion middle mile network that the state is building throughout much of the Caltrans right-of-way, managed by the CPUC and the CDT, built on Caltrans right-of-way by Caltrans, and to be operated by Scenic, or a new offshoot of Scenic, which is the state university and education network, and is called the Golden State Network. So what you see here is a design that uses the Golden State Network on Highway 101 in light blue. And we have also designed a network that connects from Hidden Hills City Hall, goes down to the 101, connects on the south side of the 101, and continues to go down, crosses the bridge to Murrow Road, takes Murrow Road down and crosses again over to Agoura Road, and then to Agoura Road. It connects through the other cities of Agoura Hill, not only Calabasas, but Agoura Hills and Westlake Village. What you see in green is existing conduit that is empty with the city of Westlake Village. What you see in pink is existing fiber optics that's owned and operated by the city of Agoura Hills. And what you see in red is new build that would be underground as part of the construction aspects of this project. And using, of course, as Michael Russo said, the $12 million to construct this network. We have met with the Calabasas city manager and his team of department heads, and we have identified significant assets owned by the city of Calabasas. And if you're not aware of these assets, let me just show a very quick diagram with all of you that shows your traffic signal system. And that traffic signal system should be overlaid onto the existing network that I shared with you. We're in the process of using, just like we did with Westlake Village and Agoura Hills, transferring the existing assets onto the map that I was showing you earlier. These are the assets that are owned and operated by the city of Calabasas. This is your traffic signal system. And as you can see, it follows much of the route to Las Virgenes Road from Valley Circle that we are anticipating to use and construct along the routes for this COG project. In addition to that, it goes down Las Virgenes Road and has the potential, it goes all the way down to Lost Hills Road and has the potential of connecting other facilities, including the Las Virgenes Water District. So we are reaching out to the Las Virgenes Water District to see if they have interest in being an anchor tenant on this network. This network will provide services for not only anchors like the Las Virgenes Water District, but it will connect the traffic signals within the region. It will also connect all of the city halls. It will connect the fire stations and other sheriff stations and public safety elements for improving services to your communities. We are looking at a long-term evolution of this project. And as you can see, it can then become a shared backbone that Calabasas will share with Hidden Hills and will share with Westlake Village and Agoura Hills, delivering wholesale bandwidth to those 4 communities, because the city of Malibu has opted out for this particular phase, but may join in a future phase, phase 2. What we see here is that this backbone can then be used and to connect additional traffic signals throughout your community. And then that creates what's called fiber hoods, and would enable neighborhoods, school districts, the HOAs to work with the city, to work with private industry and providers to more cost effectively deliver fiber to the last mile, fiber to the home, and fiber to the businesses. But you can see already that there's much fiber that already exists today, and we expect to be pulling more fiber through the network that is going to be built by the Council of Governments. So this now is not just going to be a redundant network that is carrier grade for a backbone, but it's also going to be a network that would help for economic development by connecting businesses, anchor institutions, and also provide competitive low-cost services potentially for residents. That is the background of the design at this point in time. It is likely, because we are going to be potentially using your investment in underground conduit for your traffic signal system, that the cost may come down from the 12 million and could be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 million, leaving all of the cities more money in which to connect additional facilities, still to be discussed and identified. And that is the network itself. Please know that fiber networks are being built again, throughout the country, now by municipalities, filling in the gaps where the private sector could not have a return on their investment in areas where it was either too expensive to build or there wasn't enough density and enough customers to justify the return on the investment. Jonathan, and would you like to add?
You go from screen to screen, how to remember where the unmute button is. The thing that strikes me most about this is that we don't really even know how this network will ultimately play out if it is to be constructed. From a, I suppose, both the technical standpoint and as someone who's deeply involved in emergency communications, one of the things I see about this and the lessons learned that we've had over the fires that we've experienced in the city over the years is that a network like this with redundancy built in would enhance public safety by allowing, for example, the various EOCs to communicate, to allow for one EOC to take over for another that might be taken out of action. So I see some fundamental safety issues that come in besides the commercial possibilities of it. And I think that it's going to be those benefits that aren't immediately translatable into current income that will, number one, help comply with Measure M, because that would be a direct coordination process for traffic control during emergencies. And number two, be a substitute for a direct payback, which, as Jory points out, most private firms would require, and which sometimes the network simply doesn't produce because of the way it's configured. So those are just some preliminary thoughts based on what Jory has said so far.
Jonathan, based on what you just said, are you referring to what he said about investors not investing unless they can have a profit within 3 years?
Correct. We have the privilege in any jurisdiction of having a little bit longer view on benefits and returns, since we intend to be in business for, I don't know, forever.
I got a couple of questions. I guess, Jory. So what you're talking about is initially establishing a closed network among the cities for working traffic, city to city type network. What do you know? What type of or what size fiber they would consider placing? Is it something substantial that could be expanded? Or would you have enough dark fiber to use, down the road?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. The network that we've conceptually designed, of course, please know that this is a draft conceptual design. When it goes through design engineering, it's going to get a lot more detailed. But at this point in time, the costs that you've heard are to provide 2 conduits at a 2-inch size diameter, with a 288 count fiber in one of them, and the other conduit is empty to be used for some future purpose, or more likely what we anticipate and hope would be to be leased to a third-party service provider to deploy commercial services throughout the region.
Wow, no, that's actually pretty good. Wouldn't consider a 4 conduit with 3, the ability to lease 3, huh? The other thing is, so if we have that and we wouldn't necessarily be leasing dark fiber, you would kind of make your spare conduit available for the private sector? Is that?
It would be a combination. We envision a lit service network, which is called WDM, Wave Division Multiplexing, which is a multiplexed fiber network. So 2 strands can actually provide an unlimited number of lambda or passive networks within those two strands of fiber. There are some agencies that will want to dedicate the strands for municipal use, and those will be government networks. It's completely physically separated in buffer tubes from the other strands that will be used either as lit fiber for businesses or residents, or for dark fiber to those businesses that require it.
Okay, and pole boxes, as you build out the network, how would you space those out?
About every 900 feet.
Okay. And the other thing would be the cost of maintenance once the original network is in place. How does that get covered?
There's many business models. We haven't really discussed that yet with the COG. Right now, we're just getting approval for Measure M money, but business models that are typically used with this type of a network that's government owned, it could be privately operated, and you could either through IRU, long-term leasing agreements, lease the fibers and the empty conduit to service providers to generate revenue and to improve services throughout your communities. You could also have a partnership model where you bring them on as a partner, they market, manage, and operate the network for you, and then they generate the revenue and the business that you would then share a portion of.
I have a question. What is Measure M money exactly used for? Is it strictly for this type of thing, or you say transportation? Jonathan, what other purposes can Measure M money be used for within the city of Calabasas?
I'm going to defer to Jory for that answer, but before I do that, I'd like to add a little bit more to for Commissioner Goldwater in terms of maintenance to finish off the answer on that question. Fiber optic networks as passive networks, they don't require power to operate, and therefore their immunity from electrical power surges makes them particularly stable. The maintenance that occurs on a fiber optic network, you have demand maintenance and you have preventive maintenance. The demand maintenance is somebody cuts the cable, but as Jory can explain, a modern fiber network is built with redundancy so that if you lose a path, it's automatically rerouted. The most intensive maintenance a fiber optic network needs on a routine basis is to unscrew the fiber from the back of the equipment and clean off dust. And doing that,
as long as you're underground, you don't. If you're aerial, then there are other issues.
Well, no, that because the network is glass from end to end, there are no midline connectors per se, except if you're doing a tap off. But the bottom line is that the maintenance of a fiber optic network is less than any sort of active network that has amplifiers or relays or anything else. And with that, I'd ask Jory to come in and talk to Commissioner Melcher about his question about the use of M money.
Before we start, can I just ask a quick question? Is this fiber network going to be aerial or underground or a combination or what?
It's been designed and priced to be fully underground.
Okay, so because you mentioned the traffic signal network, and I was thinking, what does that mean exactly? So
your traffic signal network is also fully underground today.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's no boxes that could get hit by traffic or anything like that.
No,
Okay.
we don't have the concern about poles being knocked down and fiber being the fiber services being interrupted. So this is a more resilient network, not only because it's underground, but also because in the diagram that I showed you, it is a redundant network in that it's using the state middle mile as the secondary backup. So in the event that there's a fiber cut somewhere, it will then use the state middle mile fiber to continue those services during that repair period.
Now, is the state middle mile, is that aerial along the 101?
That is underground.
Oh, okay.
Jory, it's Michael. Just a couple of questions.
Can I just answer the Measure M
Yep, I'm
question
sorry.
first,
Go right-
Michael?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Measure M money, of course, is a ballot measure that you all know was to fund transportation mitigation. And that includes transportation technology for intelligent transportation systems and other roadway work, right-of-way work, bridge work, and other maintenance or improvement activities that would benefit the public and their use of the transportation arteries throughout Southern California.
So
Does that help,
fiber
Terry?
optic, this is included, the fiber optics is included as part of that.
It wasn't initially, but over time, through studies that have been done for transportation technologies and networks, everyone realizes that all transportation related technologies are driven by fiber. And so it was clear enough when we went to the MTA board and the LADOT in 2019 to get funding for the South Bay Fiber Network, which was $8.2 million, that they approved it because we could show that it was going to be used for transportation purposes. That network actually connects not only the 15 city halls and various business corridors, but it also connects the Caltrans network and facilities within the region, LA Metro facilities within the region, as well as LADOT and LA County Traffic Engineering. So we expect to do very much the same here with this network using Measure M funding.
Can you tell us what you mentioned Santa Monica? Were you involved back in the beginning when they dropped all their fiber into their open trenches? That was everybody else to dump it in.
I led that project.
$500,000.
I led that project.
That was your project?
That was my project.
So how's that working still today?
Well, let's see. We started in 2002. Actually, we went to council with our master plan in 1998. We launched the network in 2002. It was the first 4 gig municipal network in the country, then the first 10 gig, and then the first 100 gig. It has generated over $32 million of net profit since its evolution in starting really in 2002.
It cost a lot less to build it out then.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in for just a second because that's an important issue that we should touch on, given one of the council priorities that's been shared with us, and actually has come from the CTC. Santa Monica's fiber optic network provides backhaul services for hundreds of small cell sites throughout the city, which provide connectivity, and that has enabled the providers, all of them, to rapidly deploy radios and to get them up and running in periods measured in weeks, not months or years. And I'm thinking back about, our situation in Calabasas about getting coverage because of topography and getting coverage quickly and providing ways to encourage the providers to come in and do those things which the CTC and the city council made way for with the last revisions of the ordinance, which have largely yet to be recognized and realized. So this does have another issue that has been demonstrated to actually work in Santa Monica.
The Santa Monica network also provided the backbone, or should I say the foundation, for smart city applications. So when I was there, by the time I left in 2016, I'm sure those numbers have increased, but we had over 750 public safety cameras that were infrared, so they had night vision. We had another 200 traffic signal cameras for traffic management with pan, tilt, and zoom capabilities, along with the public safety cameras. We had over 550 wireless access points throughout the city on every major transportation corridor for municipal services and for free internet as a public amenity. And we had sensors, real-time parking, directional parking signs, traffic mitigation sensors, intelligent crosswalks, and automated refuse and recycling vehicles. The list was quite large, over 24 smart city type applications.
Wow.
Dory, just a couple of, I'm the non-techie guy on the technical part of this commission, but partially. I'm looking at your map, and I just want to see if you can go back to that.
Certainly.
The color line map. I just want to ask a couple of questions.
Mhm.
Where you show the red line on the far east side,
Mhm.
working its way up to Hidden Hills, okay? I assume that's
Long Valley Road.
well, that's at well, I know where that is in Hidden Hills, but I meant it's at the point of where Mulholland Drive intersects with Calabasas Road.
Mhm.
Just for your information, that's in the city of Los Angeles. That whole sector from that point heading west.
Right.
As long it's an early part of all this. It's just as an FYI for you.
No, I understand, but we have to cross the freeway.
That's
and
what I'm wondering. I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there may be a few.
we have options to either cross the freeway using the bridge, which we can strap fiber to the side of the bridge, and we have lots of experience with that, or we tunnel under the freeway, which is a very expensive and
I was going to say
time-consuming proposition.
that doesn't sound like a great choice. The other question that I had, where did I put it here? Jonathan, you were just you anticipated my question, so which was, to what degree does this interface with the needs of the cable companies who are providing our cell phone services and having difficulty finding the funding to do the job that we really need? So is there some interfacing here that you were referring to that is possible, or am I dreaming unrealities?
Is that the backhaul that you were talking about, Jonathan?
Yeah, that's the backhaul. A difference is that Santa Monica is for the most part a flat community,
Right.
and our needs are somewhat greater because of the great topography changes. And by the way, I should mention, Jory hasn't mentioned it, he's a resident of the city, so he knows what's going on locally.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I simply want to say that a network itself grows as it meets needs. The network that Jory has conceptualized for you so far is a starting point. It's not an ending point.
Right.
And I think that's the important thing. So as the uses develop and justify, I would think that we would want to expand it. I would also think that we would want to have a element in the municipal code, as other communities have done, that say, if you're going to open a hole in the ground, we get to stick conduits in there as well for future use, things like that. So there are layers to all of this, but think of this as version 1.0, if not 0.9, and you'd want to use this as the basis to form the smart city applications that Jory's been talking about, and really to help the council create a framework. I can recall back, and Michael, you'll think about this too. We've had proposals in the city over the years for people to come in and develop fiber optic networks.
AT&T,
I'm sorry.
AT&T.
I was actually thinking even earlier than that, Candace, but we've seen people coming in and having big ideas. It wasn't the time. This is the time. So this is also the time to look at policies and deployments and ideas, if that is the will of the commission.
Richard? I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a few questions. So from what I'm gathering is eventually like the service providers would not consider this competition, but would welcome this type of partnership? Or what's your thought?
Jory, go ahead.
This really provides opportunities for new competition within the region. So they will see it, Spectrum and AT&T will see this as a competitive infrastructure, which is a good thing because they are complacent, because there is no competitive marketplace here or anywhere where this network is being conceptualized. What it provides and why we're putting in extra conduit is that we will enable other new entrant third-party providers to come in and compete with Spectrum and AT&T. Now, there are two results that could happen, and they could happen simultaneously. One is that AT&T and Spectrum do nothing, and the new entrant takes about 30% of, or maybe even 40% of the market from them, or AT&T and Spectrum will improve their services and lay more fiber themselves to effectively compete with any new entrants. Either way, you win.
In Santa Monica, how what was your observation there?
Because we were beating the pants off of Charter Spectrum, because they only had copper and an old version of DOCSIS, they weren't able to deliver anything more than 60 meg to businesses and to residents. We were able to provide 100 gig to low-income housing units and to businesses. So effectively, they couldn't compete with us because we had technology that they did not have and that they hadn't invested in, just like they haven't invested in Calabasas.
Yeah.
So what I saw happen, and it was a good thing, and I felt like I could retire and have a smile on my face for the rest of my life. They spent $30 million pulling out all of their copper and installing fiber.
Wow.
How does this, when you look at the map, Jory, if this were to go ahead and come out, how does that affect the average resident south of the 101 throughout all of the Calabasas? How do we get hooked into that? How long does that take? And is that all part of Measure M and those funds?
Measure M is going to fund, well, Measure M is iterative, Carrie, and so the calls for projects are every January and February of each year. So this is, I believe, Calabasas has $4 million a year, and so I believe you're using $4 million of your allocation for this network, and you may have some, when all is said and done, and we're done merging your existing assets into this system, there may be savings for you, and you could start to deploy to those traffic signals in neighborhoods that currently aren't connected, but are only point-to-point wireless at this point in time. Improving your traffic signal system and your traffic safety, while at the same time delivering fiber to your neighborhoods for other incumbents, new entrants, to come in and to build fiber to the premise. It's an evolutionary process. You have to provide, well, you don't have to, but governments, when they provide a backbone to eliminate barriers of entrance, that is making it more cost effective for new competitors to come in and provide fiber to businesses and to residents, that's when you start attracting a competitive marketplace.
May I ask another question? This is a simple question. It's probably a complicated answer. What is the timeline if the city council approves next week, maybe, or whenever they next meet? You know, are there a lot of obstacles before this can, you know, actually start the creation of the network?
We're talking about a year.
Yeah,
Or we're talking about a year. It would take, I believe it's going to take somewhere between, well, I would say 6 months to get the network design right. I'm sorry, 6 months from January to get the network design right. And then it's going to take another, maybe another year to complete construction of the network. So we're talking about from January, about a year and a half, maybe sooner than that.
Jory, two quick questions. One, picking up on what Richard said. First of all, I guess this is merely directed at you, Jory, and Michael Russo and Jonathan. Has the city staff, and I'm thinking particularly of Robert Yalda, been a part of this in any way and has given endorsement to it?
Funny you should ask.
Yeah.
Michael Russo?
Yes, Robert has been briefed on this. Seems genuinely interested in pursuing it. Robert is not here with us today. I'm looking, his deputy director, Tatiana Holden, is here if there's any questions from a public works standpoint, but just both Robert and Tatiana have been briefed on the particulars at this point.
It is my assumption that the council will focus on that, I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
So I don't want to dwell on it too much. One other thing about the map, just me and my little particular curiosities. When you look at this map, and I'm addressing an area that is on the north side. Let me get my directions right. Yeah, the north side of the freeway. There is an area, and I'm guessing that I don't know how I can point it out because there's no way where, and you may have it already anticipated, that's bridging the freeway near Parkway Calabasas. There is a part of there is some plans afoot to possibly somewhere down the line have Calabasas become where the area north of the freeway, some portions of it will be part of the city. And I don't know how this in any way and knows about it, you knew about it, or can service it should that sometime emerge.
To answer your question, Michael, this again is a backbone, and because we're placing pull boxes about every 900 feet, there will be places along this route to splice into, and so more than likely we're going to make sure that those pull boxes are landing at these major arterials, and if we obviously can splice in, and we could easily carry the fiber north.
Okay, at this stage, that's fine. It's already 10 of 7. So last pass around, or each of you entitled to one more question, because I want to, not that I want to rush this. I really think it's fascinating.
I would be remiss if I didn't at this point inject something. You should know that the last night at the Hidden Hills council meeting, they agendized approving an MOU with a third-party provider to operate the network that they are looking at constructing for about $5.5 million. This is going to be a fiber to the home network. And so you should all know that this is currently in the works, and that approval that was granted by City Council last night provides for the design engineering for fiber to approximately 650 plus homes.
Jory, who was the vendor that was selected?
A company called Onward, which used to be In Your Networks.
Are they using public funds, Measure M money for this?
They are using general fund money,
General fund being their own money or?
their own money. Actually, I'm sorry, they're using general fund money for the design engineering portion, which is about $250,000.
City
And
money.
then they are going out and they are acquiring a loan.
How does 5G differ so much? I mean, I know fiber is great, but in our case, we changed in all the ordinances and the city went to great pains to do that and city planning. And we know we're inside of kind of a cycle waiting for the next investment by the telecoms, you know, in Calabasas, which we hope will be 5G. I guess it goes back to the residents. Are we going to delay 5G to most of the homes here by going ahead and doing a project like this?
Just the opposite.
Yeah,
Just the
I think
opposite.
telecoms will come rushing in.
I'm going to jump in and say it won't retard the deployment. Whether it causes them to move forward faster will depend on their perception of the threat of a competitive network. So there isn't a downside to it per se, and there very well may be an upside, but I don't want to say that it's going to cause them to do anything. I think that's the most conservative answer.
I'm not clear on what our charter is for this evening around.
Just
this
going
subject
to get to
matter.
that. I was just going to get to that. Okay.
Well, yeah,
What I think the council just basically asked us to hear this whole presentation without any absolute specificity to what they wanted to say when we go back to them.
okay.
So my instincts are that we really can look at this from the standpoint of whether the plan seems to have value and reality to it, as best as we can tell, and leave the decision for the council as it certainly is theirs. We can't make a recommendation to do this because we don't know how they allocate their Measure M money, which is meant to fund this. So this really has to be something that the council has to decide on, establishing where their priorities are.
Yeah, for me, I'd like to hear more from the city
Well,
at our next.
Well, I don't know that we're needing to continue this. I think this is really up to the council. The next step is for at least a note of some kind said to the city that, and in fact, I will put this in the form of a motion, and you can adjust it or reject it or whatever you want to do. That in review of this regional smart cities fiber network, we all found it interesting, encouraging, in need of further exploration, and leave to the council the decision on the funding of this should they want to go forward.
All right, wait, what about finding it valuable? You didn't include that.
Well, valuable, okay, without question. Richard?
We were like impressed with the potential benefits to the community.
Yeah, by the way,
Kind of piggybacking what's just been said.
but I mean, outside our purview is the whole area of safety and the safety for the community and the communication. Well, it's not outside our purview as far as the communication is concerned, but the potential of a better quality system of communication throughout the city may be a benefit of it as well.
May I ask one more question?
Sure, David.
Yeah, Jory, on the construction of the network, when you're talking about two 2-inch conduits, are you being limited by micro trenching or are you doing full trenching?
At this point, we're anticipating doing directional bore.
Whoa, okay.
What's that exactly? That's where you don't have to dig up the whole street. You
You
Kind of tunnel under with the,
yeah, you create potholes, and then you put the equipment in, and you bore through the earth with the conduit. So it's a drill-like process using the conduit to bore under the earth.
They
And you're
do-
actually going
they
900 feet?
They do that with plumbing too. They bore, like if instead of digging up your whole yard, they bore into the ground to put you in a new water line or something like that.
It's a very cost-effective way to install conduit for fiber optics. It's also does less damage to your roadway.
Yeah.
May I ask Michael Russo a question?
Yeah.
You, would it be beneficial for our commission to prepare the motion pretty much as our chair indicated, or do you have any recommendations for us at this point?
A motion might work. Keep in mind that the council has already voted to approve this. And what they wanted to do was just get some thoughts, I guess, from CTC, what it is you all thought about it and what Jonathan Kramer thought about it as a way of giving them any sort of advice in particulars, anything like that. But it has already been approved. But they did want to just have you guys weigh in. They will need to go to the COG likely in an early January meeting with the COG. And we as a group will likely not be meeting next month because you're right in the middle of the holiday week there with Hanukkah, Christmas, etc. So you can certainly make a motion. It's completely up to you. But they were just looking for any sort of thoughts, guidance at all as some background, I guess, to go forward, even though it has already been approved by the council.
Can I add my 2 cents here?
Just one second.
Michael?
Go ahead.
Just let you know, when you mentioned a 288 fiber, I was impressed. I thought, if you're going to do this, you want to do this right. And I think that's a good size fiber cable to be using. That's going to have a lot of potential. And hopefully for years or decades to come. I think it's anything less than that we'd have to discuss about that, but that's a great number. I think that's a lot of potential, a lot of capacity there.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I recommend that we ask Commissioner Epperson to weigh in on some of this too, because she's the one who's going to be inheriting this if this moves forward, and get some thoughts on this. I think that's going to be important in terms of responding to council as well.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, Jonathan.
Yeah, I find this all very interesting, and I will say it is exciting. I know fiber is fast paced, and I think it's going to be good if it all goes through. But what you've presented so far, it is exciting.
Okay. Let me try this another way. I just wanted to bring it to the best that I can think of is a motion that goes back to the council and it basically gives it our support and our commentary on it, not so much into the line situation. You're really at too early a stage, I think, for that, but just to indicate our support for this effort, as long as they've passed it already. I wasn't sure about that when I saw that. I couldn't remember if they actually did vote on it or not.
Yes.
Then I think a motion basically along the lines of providing those couple of key words that support the support that the
Michael, I'm going to step in as an attorney right now.
yes.
And I think that it's not a motion you're looking to do. I think you're looking for a resolution of the CTC. Because there's really nothing to do other than to
Right.
bring the resolution forward.
Okay. Is there someone that would like to construct a resolution verbally here at this point, so we have it for the minutes and then can be transferred to the council?
I'd be happy to take a crack at it and then be kind of the neutral person
Thank you.
here. People
Thank
could
you.
edit it.
Yeah.
But I think it would be framed along the lines that the CTC has received information from Mr. Wolf and Dr. Kramer regarding the Measure M network that's been approved by the council, and the information having been discussed at length by the CTC receives the support that this is a important process to move forward and to look at this as a basis for future expansion as opposed to merely a network today, and that this is a path to the future for the city as opposed to simply a device to meet current needs, something along those lines.
Anyone writing this down?
I know it's being recorded.
Yes, it's being recorded, so I'll put something together.
Yep. Okay. What I'd love to see is get it. Well, okay. Well, I'd like to see it before it hits to the council, just to.
Perhaps if the CTC would like to invest in the chairman the power to take what has been discussed tonight and to resolve it down to a resolution that can be transmitted to the council before your next CTC meeting, that may be something you'd like to consider doing.
Well, Yadira said she would put it together based on what you said.
Understood. And
Well,
but it needs to have a way to get to the council.
Oh,
I support that, that we asked and charge our chairman to follow up on this.
Okay. Is there a second to Richard's motion?
second,
Okay, fine.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Jonathan?
Be happy to help. Well, I'm not a voting member. I'm an advisor.
No, I know that.
but I will of course be privileged to assist the authors of this to bring the resolution of the entire CTC to help through the chair to the city council.
Okay. Terrific.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You guys.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have you here tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you for
thank
your
you,
help.
Jory.
Jonathan,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
you.
Jonathan.
It's a pleasure to see you, my friends, and Commissioner Epperson, I'm delighted to meet you.
She's terrific. Okay, we have our continual matter to deal with at this point. So
Mr. Chair, do you want me to stay or shall I be excused?
I think you can be excused. I don't think there's any other particular reason why you need to stay.
Take care, my friends. Good to see you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
Righto. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I should have asked you, Michael. I don't think there's anything else for Jonathan at this point. Do you?
No.
Michael?
You know what? I forgot to mention, do we know a cost per foot?
They've got it
Just
in.
divide whatever that, how many miles into $12 million.
No, I think they had it in this.
Did they?
Carrie,
And the part for the city of Calabasas is a little bit less than 4 million.
Yeah.
And do we know how many miles that covers?
I do not.
Probably from City Hall to the border of Ventura County or whatever.
No, no. Remember, this is city constrained. It is not county. So it's not to Ventura County. This is,
No, so it goes to Agoura.
yeah.
Our share of it, yes, would go to Agoura city limits.
Michael, you may know this. I forgot to ask if all the other cities excluding Malibu, which is asked to step out for the moment, the others that have all approved, or do you know?
I believe they all have, yes.
Okay,
let's go on, let's move on.
let's a deep breath and a move on is correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace.
Wireless facility minor modification permits. Who doth speak?
Jacqueline,
Jacqueline, there she is.
Good evening, Chair Brockman.
You wish to begin? And
Yeah, so it is a consent item. If you have any particular questions on any of the items, I know that you did already, I'd be happy to go into more detail on any of the items, but essentially we have 3 projects that were approved since our last meeting, 2 minor modifications and 1 tier 1 wireless facility permit. So 3 total approvals to 3 facilities within the city.
anybody have any questions on these?
Oh,
For the sake of clarity, I have just 2 questions. Okay, one's actually not a question, it's a statement.
this is a great package is what all I have to say.
The one
Thank
thing,
you.
for the information of the council, other commission members, I raised a question about the lack of clarity between the clause of permit of, what's the term I'm looking for? The penalty of perjury. Jonathan referred to in a number of his letters needed to be in the agreements, which I did not see in them. But I have been assured by the staff, and Jacqueline, you can confirm this, please, that they have gotten those commitments from the 3 applicants involved. And I would suggest to you, Jacqueline, that we find a way in future activity of this kind to provide a little more clarity to the linkage of that category.
Yes, so it is all public record. I'm happy to share anything if you request it. As Commissioner Weber mentioned, they are pretty hefty packets already, so we do try to
Right.
limit it to just what you need in order to receive the information of, here's a summary of the projects that were approved in the duration since the last commission meeting. So we're trying to stray away from making the packets any longer than they already are. But again, if there's any specific questions you have on a particular item or any other information you'd like on a particular item, I'm happy to provide whatever you need.
I may have seen over detailed on this, but that particular concept of that is critical because it puts a burden of responsibility on the applicants where it needs to be, and it's clear. So I just want to make sure that we find a way to include it in some manner that makes it clear for the future packages that you send. I do have one quick question though about Exhibit D. Just curious, because I don't know if any of you were, Candace, maybe you were here with us when we first did this installation at the golf course. Do you remember that at all?
There's been so many. I don't,
Well, this was an unusual one. And
on the golf course.
This was the monopine.
the monopine,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
okay,
The monopine, it isn't.
I'm inferring from what I'm reading that the camouflage that we worked on so much has just kind of like went poof.
Yes, essentially, and it's not clear exactly when that happened. It seems like it's just kind of been over the years. They
Sure.
have pictures of the site when it was first installed and it looks good.
Mhm.
And then the photos that they provided to us of the existing condition of the site show that it has clearly, the stealth measures have gone a little bit downhill over the past few years. So as part of their new approval for that site to make it a tier 1 stealth facility, they're bringing all of those stealth measures back to
Yeah.
what their originally approved conditions were.
That's very good.
Yeah, the pictures help a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could sense, I sensed that it had been some resistance for the number of changes that took place and some of the language that I read, but.
Right, and we just put back the same conditions of approval that were part of the original project.
Okay. Okay, then.
Chairman Brockman?
Yes, yes.
And Jacqueline, you can confirm this if you could. With these minor mod reports, when you bring them here, staff has already done all the back end work on this, correct?
Right.
All the conditions have been met to
Correct. So-
satisfaction, and this is simply a courtesy notice, if you will.
Correct. Before I approve anything, we get a recommendation for approval from Dr. Kramer, telecom law firm. So
Right.
I get their okay before I deem any application complete, recommend approval of it. For tier ones, as staff, we are the approval body. For minor modifications, the director is the decision-making body at a public hearing. So for the minor modifications, they've gotten a recommendation of approval from telecom law firm, recommendation of approval from staff, and then a approval by the director at a director's hearing already. So by the time it gets to CTC, it's more of an informational report on what we've all reviewed, workshopped, and approved.
For the tier ones, yes, that is correct. I'm not disagreeing with that, and I'm not trying to in any way alter. I'm just saying that you have Jonathan's notes with specific recommendations, and it would be nice to see the link or the connection from those recommendations in the reports.
Yeah, we typically
precede it. So
we typically add the sentence in the staff report that all the comments that Dr. Kramer had mentioned within his memos have been addressed prior to approval.
okay, all right. I don't want to. It's late, and I don't want to beat this to a horse. We'll leave it as it is, and we'll talk further. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Or do you prefer Jackie?
I go by Jacqueline. I go by Jacqueline. Thank you.
It's a beautiful name. That's why I asked.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear. Jacqueline, you do an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We move on to the franchise fee report.
That's me. Okay, the franchise fee report was delivered to all commissioners. Again, this is only an information item and does not require any action at this time.
Okay, you guys got a copy of the revision,
Yes.
Yeah.
little blip that took place. Okay.
Thank you for that, the revision.
I have a question for you though, regarding what this is. I'm making an assumption about something. And the bottom half of the page, the verticalized, the three bars that are there at the bottom,
Mhm.
are those just a different way of expressing the numbers that are above?
That's correct. Yeah.
So that the first one on the left is 2019, the second one is 2020, and oh, I see that's marked there. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Just
all.
a visual for y'all.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the cable complaint report.
Okay, so the city received one new complaint. A resident experienced a 5-hour Spectrum internet outage near the Calabasas Highlands Mulholland corridor from 1 to 6 p.m. The resident works from home and repeatedly called Spectrum and received zero information on the outage during the business day. Director Russo was informed that the resident had filed the complaint with the FCC and shared the response, which is included in the report. Director Russo also provided the resident with the PUC website and an update from Spectrum. According to Spectrum, a contractor using a backhoe cut into a fiber line. It happened in a location that was not near the resident's home, which was the reason why the resident did not see any Spectrum trucks in the immediate area. And the issue has been resolved.
Thank you very much. Any questions on that?
No. That seems to be their favorite outage response.
A backhoe.
Yeah, the backhoe cutting the cable.
Yeah.
We hear that over and over and over.
We don't usually have that many people who go right to the federal
Yeah, the FCC. Yeah.
agency, do we?
I doubt it.
No, not at all.
I'm amazed they got a response as quickly as they did. Okay. There's no cable company reports obviously at this point.
Correct.
So we move on to the subcommittee reports. First is the wireless subcommittee. Harry, I don't think we have anything. Do you?
We don't.
We don't at this time. Okay. And then the programming subcommittee, Messrs. Sherman and Epperson.
And Weber.
Oh,
no-
Candace, yes, I apologize.
That's okay.
unless, I don't think we do unless Bella has something, unless she's going to report it during her report.
Yeah, for this subcommittee, I don't have anything new to report at this time.
Very good. And then the broadband subcommittee, Carrie and David.
I would only say for David and I, the city council saved David and I a huge amount of work.
Second that.
Michael, you want to pick up on the director's report?
Sure. Thanks, Chair Brockman. You have before you the report on the Granicus and YouTube usage, smartphone app usage. In the director's report, I wanted to make a quick mention tonight of our selection of a vendor for our new smartphone app. The current Connect with Calabasas app is old. It is from 2014, a bit tiresome, and the vendor, which is Acela, a very large company, is offering virtually no support for it other than simple maintenance. And there are several providers who specialize in apps for local government and what's called citizen request management, or CRM. And we picked 3 of them to look at, a company called Civic Plus, Rock Solid, and GoGov. All 3 had similar capabilities. They have, great features. I downloaded local government apps provided by these 3 vendors from all over the country. All 3 are major players. And we conducted some virtual meetings with each provider, and each of them submitted a proposal to us. We went over it. In the end, we decided to use GoGov. They already serve 26 cities in LA County. I've had calls with some of them, I should say 26 cities with their apps in LA County. I've had calls with some of them, very positive feedback, and one particular place told me the support from GoGov is just lights out, better than the rest. They also happen to be the least expensive of the 3, so that's always a good thing. So we should have a new app, likely with the same name, Connect with Calabasas, in about 2 months.
Wonderful.
That is it. If there's no questions, we can go on to the programming report with Arvin.
Okay. Arvin, you're up.
I'm up. All right. Thank you, Chair Brockman, commissioners. Good evening. Yeah, I think so. I've been watching you guys from here, but I don't think you saw me yet. So hello, good evening. I'd like to go over our programming report for October and November of this year. Our school boards are happening 2nd and 4th Tuesday. December might be one only, but right now it's happening, in fact, and one of our crews over there recording it. As I mentioned last month in October, we made a CHS nonprofit show, Medi Talks and Thoughts, Pumpkin Festival highlight reel, community wildfire preparedness webinar that we created on Zoom, and we replay that as well. For the elections, we had a few shows. We had a couple of candidate forums. We had a young voters night where Mayor Mauer and Councilmember Weintraub went over all the ballot and all the things that you should vote for in Calabasas. So that was very helpful and informative. And that was with the support of the Mayor's Youth Council and the Chamber of Commerce was our joint effort to create a candidate forum, which was over here at the council chambers. So that was a hybrid show as well. Another episode of the Mueller's Drought Tolerant Backyard, episode 2 is out right now. And also a special on what is the Mayor's Youth Council. We are wrapping that up as well. Some of our production, as I mentioned, October 16th was the Pumpkin Festival. Wildfire Prevention was October 19th. Candidate Forum, October 27th. Just last week, we went over to the library for children's award-winning books. We shot that a little episode. Also, we've already went out to the school district's counseling center to do an episode on fentanyl and what the school is doing about that. So thank you for your advice from last time. We're also in touch with Sheriff to do another segment with them about all the dangers and all the things you should look for as a parent. So we'll be working on that soon. Upcoming, again, we have our Zoom meetings, our hybrid council meetings, our Mayor's Youth Council. We recorded the audio for that. our Park and Rec department. We're helping them with 5 different workshops that they're doing, 3 on Zoom, 2 in person, and also the construction of Wild Walnut Park, Old Topanga. We're shooting that. I've reached out to Anne, who is our yoga guru, so we'll be working with her probably within the next couple months to shoot some more of those. And as I mentioned last month, we have the Mayor's State of the City we're working on. That's on December 1st over at the Founders Hall. That's open to everyone at 6 p.m. And the Mayor's Economic Alliance video for mid-December. Some of our promoted items, the mayor's letter every Friday to the community. Of course, the election was full on, all hands on deck, promoting it, all the voting centers and drop boxes. Our November e-news was published, and of course, even Pumpkin Festival back in October. Also on my list this month is only 5 meetings that we're showing, a little bit slower. Probably December might be a little slower as well, but good chance to jump in and fine tune our CTV equipment here.
Where's our meeting?
That's what I was going to say, Arvin. You left us
Oh
off.
my God, the most important one.
We got you.
Yeah, you got me. All right, so there's 6. The most important one is happening right now. So, oh my gosh, you're right. I can't believe I missed it. All right. Well, good. Thanks. You guys are all watching that. Yeah, so all this info and more is on the website, cityofcalabasas.com, and follow us on all those socials as well. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Arvin.
Thank you. Thank you, Arvin. You're doing a great job. And the rest, and Michael as well. Very appreciative of you guys and your help and helping keeping the city's reputation at its sturdy position.
I was saying, I don't think Arvin's busy enough.
Well, guys, it's 7:25 as I see the clock. So, oh no, wait a minute. Wait. We're not done yet. Student Commission. Isabella.
Hello. I'll keep it brief since we're a little bit over.
Okay,
But
take your time.
Arvin, trying to see if we could find some people to interview for a PSA about fentanyl safety. So that is in the works. And then something else I also wanted to briefly bring up. I am excited for our new app. And I just wanted to mention, I think it would be really great if we marketed the new app whenever it is ready. I could see it being really useful to a lot of people in the city, and it's really important that we let them know that we're making these changes and really market that.
Good idea.
We will market the heck out of that thing. Once it is finished and nice and new, and even before it's finished, we'll talk about it. Its premiere.
Terrific. Okay, do we have any future agenda items that anybody wants to raise and put on the list? I guess not. I would then welcome a motion for adjournment.
I am so moved that we adjourn.
Okay, Candace.
I would second that.
A second. Who seconded that? Richard, who did the second? Oh,
Richard or Carrie, take your pick.
No, I thought it was Carrie. I had my head down for a second. I didn't see. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 7:25 p.m. And thank you all for your concentrated effort, particularly on that big presentation tonight. It was all very helpful.
I think you should read that won't be meeting next month. There's something at the bottom there.
I'm just about to say, since we won't be meeting next month.
Oh, okay.
Meeting in January. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving and a great Christmas and New Year's holiday and Hanukkah, and that you all can get together again in January.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great.
Thank you
Have
very
a
much.
good evening all.
Bye now.
Happy holidays, everyone.
You too.